Blue Nova, and I'm here to bring you guys a new tutorial on how I made a Juice WRLD sound and beat sampling Spongebob. If you're new to the channel, go ahead and subscribe. If you're subscribed, stay subscribed because more tutorials are coming very soon. So I'm gonna go ahead and jump into it. This tutorial is gonna be more so of a breakdown because the beat is already laid down, but you'll still get an idea of everything that I did down to the T. So this is the soundtrack, so you guys hear what it sounds like. And I'm not gonna play the entire thing. I'm just gonna jump into how I chopped it up and sampled it. So what I did after I got the beginning and end of the loop, I just time stretched it to 155. So 155 is the BPM that I decided to work with. I believe the BPM before was slower. So once I chopped it up, I time stretched it so that it's all the way to the end and it loops through. For the pitch, I just pitched it up 200 cents. And this is what it's going to sound like. So for the very beginning, I wanted to make it, you know, kind of dramatic and slow, just to build up that intensity. So this was going to sound like with gross beat. And for gross beat, what I went ahead and did is just went to, it's basically halftime, but I also have another preset right here, which is really just the same. So you just want to slow it down to where it's just in half speed. So now let's work into how I actually EQ'd it. So with the EQ, what I really went ahead and did is just loaded up a Fruity Parametric EQ2, and I just cut out the unnecessary low frequency that we don't need. Most of the time I usually kill up to 200, but since this piano kind of has some low tone that I wanted in the beat, I kept it to around 100. So this was gonna sound like if I was to remove what we already have, this was gonna sound like. You hear a lot of that low frequency in. Bringing it in. So at 200, it's killing too much of it. Now, once I did that, I just want to make sure that the piano level is very consistent. So I brought the release all the way down to 0. The attack in the head, I left that alone. And just bring the ceiling down to where it's hitting the peaks of the piano. All right, so now that you guys got that, we'll move to the next thing. So the next thing was the 808 that I have. So with the original 808, this was gonna sound like. And putting a blood overdrive. The blood overdrive just to give it some more distortion and character to the overall sound. So I usually use a blood overdrive on most of my 808s. So what I did is brought the color all the way to the right to where it's at 1, and then the preamp I brought that to 0.35, blah blah blah, and that's really all it is. So playing it, this is what it sounds like. This is what it sounds like, and then with the Fruity limiter. The Fruity limiter, just to make sure that the 808 is also consistent. I like a lot of my sounds to be very consistent. I don't like it to be bouncing and all over the place, unless it's probably like hi-hats or whatever. But my 808 just brought a Fruity limiter and the release all the way down. And then playing it with the melody. So now that we have that, I'm also gonna tell you guys that on the master, I also forgot to bring this up, but on the master, you wanna have a Fruity soft clipper so that everything stops at 0, and then, you know, you get that natural sound of your instrumental. The thing above it is gonna be Fruity Convolver. For you guys who watch my other vocal mixing tutorials, I always put a 15K cut because a lot of songs nowadays are usually cut at 15K, and it also kind of makes the quality better. Because like I said, every song nowadays is usually like that, but I wouldn't always recommend doing this when it's beats. I don't know why I did it for this beat specifically. I guess because I wanted to make sure it sounded all good with the 15K cut. So just keep that in mind. You don't have to have that. If you're making a song with it, then I would probably have it off, and then if you're making a song with vocals, then put the 15K cut on the entire master channel, but you can still go ahead and add it. Now, the next thing we have is going to be a clap. I usually use this clap a lot, and it's really, I hear it actually in a lot of beats. A lot of people kind of use this clap too. So what I went ahead and did is adjusted the pitch. I boosted that up to 200 cents, and this is what it sounds like. And as far as the EQ, I just killed up to 200. We could EQ a little bit more, but I kind of like that. I kind of like that mid region to be there, just to sound a little bit more full. And then for the limiter, just bring the release down, and then making sure it's at 0. You can see that's hitting at 0 decibels. The next thing we have is going to be hi-hat. So how I started the beat in the very beginning, I just wanted some very simple hi-hats before the actual before the tempo picks up a little bit more. So this is why I went ahead and did just right click in solo, and EQing it, I just went ahead and killed up to 2K. So also right here I have some hi-hat rolls that I did, and for these rolls it's not really anything specific as far as how I went about it. I just did what felt right. So I just added some rolls right here. Let's go ahead and just work with this channel. And also just playing with the velocity so that there's some variation within the hi-hat rolls. And you don't want your hi-hat rolls to be loud because it's gonna be too loud. It actually stands out a little bit more from the ones that are hitting on the one. So just make sure you lower your hi-hat rolls a little bit more. Now right here, I also have a percussion that's in the background. Kind of sounds like a rim or a bongo kind of sound. So this also kind of good feel for this specific kind of beat. And as far as EQing it, I just EQ'd up to 200 because I didn't want that low frequency range, just so that, you know, that low region is just specifically for the kicks and 808s. What I did right here is different. I don't always do this, and I do not recommend always doing this with your percussions, but I just want to give my percussion a little bit more spice to it, and I use a blood overdrive. Now, like I said, it's not necessary and I don't always recommend this, but I want to give it more character. So for the color, I went ahead and just boosted that all the way to the right. And for the post filter, the filter is going to make sure a little bit of that high frequency that we did boost is going to be a little bit filtered so that it's not too much. So this is what it's going to sound like without the blood overdrive. And with it, you can hear it sounds a little bit more brighter. And for the last thing, just a fruity limiter, and I brought that just to 0 decibels. But right here on the insert, you can see that it's sitting at -6. So playing it together. Now the next thing is going to be an open hi-hat. This open hi-hat just comes in just very simple. And I have that -15. From my open percussions, I wouldn't say I don't care about the EQ too much. I just go ahead and use the one right here and just roll off that unnecessary low frequency so that the melodies are taking up that space. And I have that, like I said, sitting at -15. And also I forgot to mention the shaker. So what I did is just roll off that low end frequency right here and a little bit of the high end, and I had that at -15. Right here, also in the beginning, there's also a cymbal that I usually always do, and a lot of my beat drops I always put a cymbal. As far as the EQ, I just rolled off the unnecessary low mid frequency so that it's taking up the high frequency region. You can see it's sitting at -3. So you guys get an understanding of the leveling. Right here, it's basically a distorted, long, stretched out kick, but I kind of just renamed it as a power bomb. So it also makes a good, it's also good to have it as a drop. This is as far as what I like to do in big majority of some of my beats. So I put that at -3. Now we'll move into where the beat builds up a little bit more. So right here in this pattern in track 5, you can see that those were the more simple hi-hats. The hi-hats start to get a little bit more faster. So just hitting on a 1. And then for the kick, I have this kick, is basically area 1 kick that I made. And this kick is this kick actually overlays on the 808s in some parts. I think in some of the parts in the 808s it's a little bit off, but this is what the kick is going to sound like with the beat. And for this kick, I actually didn't EQ anything on here, so I just left the kick as is. And really the only last two things, just having a transition, is basically a swoop, so that whenever the beat transitions to the next part, it has that effect. So this is what it is. And there's also a cymbal that reverses back in, so that you can feel that intensity and climax build back in whenever it's a new part of the beat. So this beginning section would be the hook, and the next part that loops around would be the verse. So all this right here is a verse section, and then loops back around for the hook. So that's really the general breakdown of what I did. I know you guys see this love filter. I actually didn't go with using a love filter because it was kind of too much. And I just want to keep the entire melody sound of the piano just to be going through natural. So just to play the beat a little bit more before we close out. And right here, there's also a open percussion loop that I have. I use this in a lot of beats. I usually like to use a lot of open percussions to fill in the background. So this is one. As far as the EQing, I just killed up to 1K, and just give it some of that sound. Most of the time with open percussions, I usually kill up to 2K, but I kind of want to give this one a little bit more fullness. So right clicking it, and for you guys to hear how it sounds like. And I have that sitting at -18. And also for the last part, I thought it was gonna be funny to add. I went back into the actual episode part and I resampled the last part. So I thought what we had was special. So it's just a funny way to close out the song, so you guys really just know where this sample is coming from. If you guys want the beat, I guess I'll put it up. The link will be in the description. Like I said, subscribe, comment what you want to see next, what else I should do beat breakdowns for. Also, if you need your songs mix and master, you know where to go to, bluenotebeats.com. Go to contact form on the very bottom of the page and send me a message there. If you need beats, the store is going to be right there on the website. And like I said, just tell me what you guys want to see next, and I'll go ahead and drop a tutorial for it. But I'll catch you all on the next video. I thought what we had was special!